How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today for you I have my review for Splatoon. I know I'm a little bit behind, the game's been out for a while now, but I'm still trying to work on that balance of playing games and making content, doing reviews, and what's the best time frame or what's the best amount of time to put into a game before you put a review out of it. So I certainly do apologize for the long delay. I'm also working on a review for The Witcher 3 as well as Elder Scrolls Online. So those will be coming out here shortly. But I really wanted to do a review for Splatoon because I actually did really enjoy this game. It was a lot of fun. It's certainly one of my favorite games, or is my favorite game currently right now on Wii U. And I think that it provided a different take on the shooter genre. It's nice to see a different idea or some different thoughts being thrown out there, or games being putting out, other than Call of Duty or Battlefield. Because I think you kind of have, I think the community's almost kind of got fatigued from those type of shooters, and maybe not so much the game itself, maybe, at least me personally, the community that those games have. So it's nice to see a different, lighthearted take, but at the same time, still being fun and still being, interesting and time, worth the time you're going to put into the game. So, with that said, we'll go ahead and we'll jump into everything here. Obviously, developed by Nintendo, comes with a single and multiplayer game modes, up to 8-person multiplayer, and then within the single player, there's also a 1v1 mode, local LAN mode within the game that you can play split screen with another friend. It is obviously a third-person shooter, and then as far as DLC goes, they have mentioned or announced from when it was released that they're going to continue to support the game going forward with free updates via maps, game modes, and weapons. So, and I can tell you from now, and then when it released, they have released several new weapons and several new maps, so they are supporting that claim that they were going to provide some free content for this game. So it is getting that support that they have promised. So this footage here, this gameplay that we're watching right now, is from the campaign. I will say one critique of the game could be of the campaign. It is very simplistic. There isn't a whole lot really to it. So it may be a portion of the game that you're not going to put a lot of time and effort into. Basically, the concept of it is, these little octopus guys have stolen these things called Zapfish that are used to power the Splatoon, or the Inklings, I believe is what they're called in the game. Their city called Egopolis, and it's your job to go and try to save the Zapfish. And the way that they kind of format this, and the way that it's done, is you have maps that you go from checkpoint to checkpoint, and in between those checkpoints, you go through different courses, you complete different objectives, you gather different items, and then you move on to the next checkpoint. And at the end of it, you'll eventually run into a boss, kill the boss, or defeat the boss, and then you move on to another set of checkpoints. So, like I said, it's very simplistic. I don't necessarily feel like it was tacked on at the end, or it's just something that was thrown in. I feel like it's sticking to what the core basis of the game is. And the game, at its core, is very simplistic, and I think the campaign stays true to that. But I don't know if it benefits from that, if that makes sense. I think it's something that they could have taken some time and they could have flushed it out a little bit more than they did. I don't know. It's hard to say with the campaign. It's certainly there and it's certainly fun, but I think you're going to get most of your enjoyment of the game here in the multiplayer mode. This is where I think you're going to get most of your money, most of the your time in the game. And again, it's just a different take on the multiplayer shooter game. In most multiplayer shooter games, Call of Duty, Battlefield, those games, the big emphasis is on kills, getting kills. What's my KD? Am I going positive? That whole thing. Now, I'm not going to say kills don't matter, because they do. Because at the end of each game, you get points, and kills give you more points, and you use those points to buy equipment and weapons. But in order to win the match, you have to cover the map in your particular rank more than the opposing team. So the team with the most percentage of the map covered wins the round or wins the game. Which I think, again, is just a different take on the shooter. So you still have the aspect of getting kills. You still have that, you know, shooter mentality of I need to go get kills. But that's not how you're going to win the game. So players are going to have to play the game the right way in order to keep the game moving. Factor that with the fact that a game lasts only 3 minutes as opposed to 15, 20 minutes in some of those other games. It actually makes for a pretty fun gaming experience, a pretty fun gameplay experience. Like I said, they're only 3 minutes long. You're able to get quite a few matches in. You know, you sit down for an hour or so and play. You're getting, 10, 12 matches in pretty quickly because the lag and the time it takes for the lobbies to fill and load actually isn't that bad either. So you're able to get quite a few games in a short period of time. So I really like that. I mentioned earlier, the points and everything you accumulate, you're able to buy new weapons and new gear. Those aren't just cosmetic. The weapons all function differently. They all provide different super weapons or special weapons. Right now I'm using the roller gun, and its main mode is to roll it on the ground and you cover a large surface area with ink, but I can swing it around and it almost kind of does like a shotgun effect. There's another gun in there that is like a long tube gun, which is essentially your sniper. So it doesn't cover a lot of ground when you're going to cover ground in ink, but at the same time it has a greater distance or range to be able to shoot people from across the map and things like that. So there's different variants in the weapons. Your headgear, hats, bandanas, headbands, masks, shirts, shorts, shoes. All of them, like I said, are more than just cosmetic. They add buffs and perks. They give you faster ink recharge or slower ink depletion or faster speed or more defense. They all function and give you those buffs. So it kind of changes the gameplay even more. So even though it does come across as a rather simplistic, rather simple type of mechanic and type of gameplay, it actually really isn't when you start kind of getting into the higher level equipment and doing different buffs and different things like that. So I think overall Splatoon is actually a really fun game. I think it's worth its price tag for sure. I think if you're coming into it really wanting to play the campaign, again, kind of a la, Call of Duty Battlefield, you're not going to get a whole lot out of that. I think I finished it in about 4 hours. It's really not that long. And like I said, it is probably the simplest of the game, of the modes on the game. Another thing that's kind of disappointing with the campaign is when they release amiibos for it, they have some content that's locked within the amiibos that you have to have them in order to be able to access it within the campaign. And trying to find those amiibos right now is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. I've been all over town. I've been to other states to try to find them. And outside of paying a lot of money online, which I don't want to do, you're not going to be able to get to that content, which is kind of disappointing. But so you kind of hope that Nintendo doesn't continue with this kind of model. I would say that's kind of my biggest complaint with the campaign, aside from the fact that it just really isn't that long and isn't something that kind of really grasps, my attention or my appeal to me that much. But I certainly think the multiplayer has made up for that leaps and bounds. It's a lot of fun. It's very entertaining. I know some people are going to complain that, because it doesn't support voice chat or game chat, it takes away from it. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's refreshing not to have to listen to 12-year-olds yell at you every 2 seconds because you get killed in a game, and somehow that makes you lesser of a person. But, there is that. So there is, that downside that some people are upset about. I honestly don't, you play the game, you get into it, I don't really think you notice it. So yeah, I think overall it is a very strong game. It is it's a game that's worth the price that you pay for it. So with all of those things, I want to go ahead and give my final review or my final thoughts on Splatoon. I would say overall for myself personally, I would give Splatoon an 8 out of 10. Mainly because, like I said, the campaign mode, I was kind of done with that fairly quickly, and it's not something that I would go back to. But I'm definitely going to put a lot more time into the multiplayer mode. So with that alone, for me, it's an 8 out of 10. I would say overall, just giving its general review, I would say 7 out of 10. When you factor in the campaign mode, the issues with the amiibo locked content, and then I could see where, unless you really became addicted with this game or you really enjoyed it, I could see it being a game where you played it for a little bit when it came out and you put some time into it, but eventually you kind of, fell off of it. You fell away from it. So I'll say 7 out of 10 for that. 8 out of 10 for my personal score, but still an overall really good game, a really good score for a game that I think is worth picking up. I really think it's worth picking up if you have a Wii U. So again, guys, I'd like to thank you for your time and really thank you guys for your patience while I'm trying to get all these reviews done and videos put out for everything. I'm working on some stuff to wrap up for E3, like I said, The Witcher, as well as Elder Scrolls Online. So again, guys, thanks for your time, thanks for your support, and you guys have a good night. Talk to you later.